Now, this is the Online Prosperity Show, where coaches and consultants come to learn how to build a business that supports their life, not consumes it. If you're tired of trading hours for dollars and wondering how to scale without burning out, you're in the right place, my friend. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And in this episode, we are going exclusive. We're going to go behind the scenes with someone who's actually done it, not just in theory. And we're going to be exploring the real stories, the real systems, and the real results. And if you're going to be getting value from this episode, make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform so you don't miss what's next. Now, today's guest is someone who loves basketball. I thought we were actually going to be talking in a basketball arena right now, but when I heard that basketball doesn't love him back, I thought maybe the studio is the best place to be, because his own brother calls him a prisoner of gravity, which I think maybe is the most honest brand positioning I've ever heard in a long time. Because if somebody is a prisoner of gravity, then that means they are grounded. And I think this is the kind of person that we need on the show right now. But jokes aside, I want to introduce you to Allan Ngo. Now, Allan, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, and that's the most fun I had for an introduction. So thank you for that.
We could just end it right here, right?
Yeah, you just dropped the mic.
Fantastic, not a problem. Now, for those that are tuning in, obviously, Allan is the founder of Digital Solopreneur, and he helps solo coaches turn what they know into digital products so they can stop selling time and start building assets. And what I really like about what he does is it really goes along with our message of owning your media. And I can't wait to unpack what it is that he does, helping one person online businesses to get paid online. And there's a few things that make Allan's story powerful, and one of which is he didn't start off in some fancy startup office or all of these things that so many people have, or in some garage. He actually started in a hot, greedy wholesale shop where the job that he did there was literally everything. So if you've ever wondered, is this really me, or is this all that it takes? Well, this is the podcast that you never thought you needed, because we're going to be talking about how Allan went from making his first $8 online to then making $4,000 from a laptop while his wife was in hospital, and that more than covered the hospital bill. And if that doesn't bring you into the show, with all guns blazing, then I don't know what else would wake you up. Now, Allan, I could go on and talk about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. Walk us through what a normal day was like for you back then in the wholesale shop.
So yeah, thank you for that. With the wholesale shop, so that's typically our family business. We do wholesale trading of fishing supplies. And it was a typical family business where everybody knows everything. And we go to the store Monday to Saturdays, including holidays. Like there's no days off. And when we go on vacation, sometimes it's not complete. Somebody has to man the store. Or when we have to visit a relative who's in the hospital, somebody has to be left behind. It came to a point. I love how you introduce the show, right? Like we have to build a business around our life, not the other way around. But it felt like we were living life so that we can sustain the store. So it came to a point where are we living for the store, or is the store supporting our lives? Right? Because it seems like we're compromising what we love, living our life, right, to sustain the store. Which is, I didn't know whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but I just realized as the next generation, I was thinking there must be another way. There must be a different way of making money. And that's when I explored doing things online as well. And back then, that was early 2010s. And at least from where I am in Manila, all I've known about online are scams back then. Online are scams. So I just tried out. Now it's called Upwork. Back then it was called Odes. to try some freelancing jobs. And previously, before working in a wholesale business, I had some experience, a few years in the banking industry as an assistant bank manager. And I realized that when I tried out the online projects, I was earning 3 times more than my bank position, than my salary. And that kind of opened up my eyes on, okay, I can see the money land in my bank account. So it's real now. It's real now. And that's when I started exploring online business on the side after work. And since I can't do trade time for money, I explored another way. Right. So that's when I started to discover affiliate marketing and email marketing. So those specifically two things specifically resonated with me because I I finished accountancy in college, and accountancy doesn't really have the reputation of being the party animal course. They're typically the people who are more subdued, more introverted, and among those, I would even be counted as a more introvert among them. Right. So when I applied for an organization, the job that fitted me was documentation. Like things that one person can do. Right. So, but what I realized was even if I stay quiet in a group conversation, just because I don't say anything doesn't mean I don't have something to say or something to contribute. And that's why email marketing resonated with me, because it has that one-on-one communication, but you can send it to multiple people. So I can speak my mind. I can share what I know to a lot of people, minus the awkwardness of like proximity, if that makes sense, right? And
Yep.
since I don't have my product yet, and I never really saw myself as a seller, since I'm an accountant, I'm used to just counting other people's money, right? And people who sell are those who are very sleek, very good with speaking, hyper confident. So when I just started email marketing, it was just me teaching what I know. And my very first product that I sold was as an affiliate. It's about how to speak Mandarin Chinese. So and funny enough, it was a product by a Canadian I met online. And his ebook back then was called Chinese, Chinease. So Chinese and easy together. So I was just sharing his ebook and told them, hey, I ran a raffle. We got 3 winners. Hey, if you didn't win, don't worry. You can still avail of the book through this link, which is my affiliate link. And lo and behold, the next day, it was a Sunday. It was January 2013. I still remember. I don't remember the specific date, but it was Sunday morning when I saw uh, uh, an email notification that I earned $8 from that email. It wasn't really even a high pressure sale email. It was just, hey, here's a consolation prize. You can just buy the ebook if you didn't win it. And that was the first sale. Then sales kept coming in. And that's when an identity shift changed in me that, hey, apparently online, I can sell just by being myself. And that was a huge thing for me. Because even in our store, I had a hard time, like I can set up systems, I can fix our files, I can do the accounting, but like the interpersonal like selling that my dad does, it's something that's foreign to me. And I'm not sure if that I'm wired to do that. So, but I can do what he does in store, but only online in emails. And that's where I found solace in, hey, I might have a future here.
Absolutely. And congratulations on obviously finding that there's something about earning, even if it's very little money,
Yeah.
but it's something that you have created, from start to finish. You found that affiliate person, created that, raffle or,
Yeah.
sweepstakes that happened, and eventually somebody actually made a purchase. And I was actually looking, this was $8, and it's just simple. As simple as this, but this actually
Yes.
meant quite a great deal, and it gave you that sort of identity shift. But I want to ask, you had already been earning money. You had already been in the whole accounting sort of sphere. You had already been doing certain things. Why did this $8 really make this shift for you?
Mm, yeah, I guess prior to that, prior to working in our wholesale business, I mentioned I was in corporate, but at the same time, that was around the time my college friends and I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Ah,
So that was around the time it launched. So when we were in corporate, we also pulled our money together to start a franchise business. And we thought that that was easy money, quote unquote, because there's already a system, right? But we were too young back then, and we didn't realize the challenges that came with it. Um, Manpower was difficult. People always want to work overseas. Ice machine getting broken, ABCs getting needs fixing, and like I was kind of burned out from both. And I questioned myself, like I'm burning out from corporate. I'm burning out from this franchise business. So I'm failing as an employee and as an entrepreneur. So I felt like myself with my, like, I'm a CPA. It felt like I was an educated bum. Like I don't know what I can do. Right. So, and it felt like I was powerless at the time. And something about sending an email and getting paid felt so powerful. It's because it's almost like I'm skipping the establishment, right? The
yeah.
establishment of corporate, establishment of franchise, and now I could just go direct, and that felt liberating. So even if it's just $8, right? It meant something that, hey, this is something that I can control. And how I did that was just sitting in my home, writing emails, talking about stuff that I'm interested in. So that was it. More than anything, it was the agency to do my stuff and have a potential, make it a living. There's a potential. I'm just excited by the potential. I wasn't really making a full-time living back then, but that
Absolutely.
was the spark I needed.
Absolutely. I mean, it's only $8, but you know what I'm picking up from what you're saying there, Alan? And thank you so much for sharing that with me because from all the things that you've mentioned, you did mention an accounting degree is not, the party starter, and sales was not really that much of what you wanted to do. And then you went into this franchise thing and you were literally burning out. And I'm now starting to piece together that all of these elements are elements about who you are as a person that was not corresponding to already established protocols of
Right.
where we earn money. And I feel like a lot of people are usually maybe around peg that is being forced into a square hole and they never really get to understand that which they are actually good at. And you had found your way. And I feel like this kind of felt easy because, as you said, you're introverted, and just sending an email and making money is a godsend, for somebody like yourself. I mean, how do you feel about that?
That's true. And I'm happy that you picked up on that, right? Like, it's because I think it's a challenge that a lot of people face. And there's even one layer that's, I guess, present with myself that might not be present with others, which is the expectations. I'm a third generation. I grew up, I was born and raised here in the Philippines, but I'm also a third generation Chinese, right? And for us, culturally, if you have a business, the eldest son is supposed to take over, right?
Mm.
So, and I'm that person. So I also have this identity issue with, hey, am I letting my parents down if I pursue this other thing? And it was a challenging process as well. Um, because it can lead to hurt feelings,
Mm.
expectations, and I would say that it was a harder challenge, but one thing that ultimately helped us move on with that. So I was working in our store for at least 6 to 7 years. Majority of the time I gave up. I sacrificed my recreation time. Like after work, I work again. That went on for like 6 to 7 years. until such time that over time, because it's new, even for my parents, even right now, if I explain what I do, they wouldn't fully grasp it, right? I would just show them proof, right? So I would treat them to lunch, like I would give them annual gifts, like monetary gifts, because ultimately now as a parent myself, I understand where they're coming from. Is really they just want to make sure that you're taken care of, or at least you can take care of yourself, right?
Mm,
And it came a point in time where it became a blessing because for myself, three of us siblings are doing things online, right? And when the pandemic hit, right, in 2020, business was physical business was closed everywhere, right? And I would say that it hasn't really gone back to pre-pandemic times right now. And my mom was very I admire my mom for being so perceptive in the sense that she was happy that at least in some ways, the three of us not working in the business was a blessing in the sense that three lives aren't relying on the store, right? So it spread out. Everyone can make their own living, less pressure on the store to grow again, right? To sustain multiple lives. And at least everyone has their independent pockets of income.
mm,
So it was a long vision, but that's one of the challenges as well. So it might not be present for everyone listening, but to your point about identity, that's also an identity that is challenging to the certain expectations, especially culturally, right? So, but I feel that if you have that, if that's something that shifted for you, you need kind of proof. You know, you have to prove every step. You have to prove to yourself that
yeah.
it's working, right? I proved to myself that hey, online sideline works with Odes. Then I made my first $8. Then I made I was able, the biggest sign for me was when I participated in a foreign, my first overseas affiliate launch. Right in the middle of it, my wife got confined in the hospital for an allergic reaction to a medicine she was taking.
Oh,
So we were newly married then. I think we were just like a year in our marriage. So I was taking care of her. But in the hospital, there's a lot of downtime. So when she's resting, I would work on the affiliate launch with another friend. So we'd share resources. And by the end of it, like I came away with almost $4,000 in commissions, which was way more, like almost three to four times more than what we paid for in the hospital. And for me, personally, I felt like that was God's sign for me, telling me that, hey, um, just keep doing what you're doing. This is gonna take care of you. That's how I interpreted that experience. That gave me courage as well to move forward with it. And I guess it was just many pockets of evidence because I'm not a type A personality as well. So I'm very conservative moving forward. So I want to have evidence proof before I move on. And I think those small wins, you know, in life, there are sliding doors, right? If you went to A, your life would be different. B, it would be different. I think it's a series of small sliding doors that the evidence gave me the direction to go, where to go. So, so yeah, and I think like for a lot of entrepreneurs as well, especially those starting out with this, just find small pockets of proof, right? Do small tests, see if you like it, and just take it on from there. A lot of folks who would like to make big steps, big dreams, and it can be scary, right?
mm,
And I think those small sliding door moments where I have enough proof to move forward, that has led me to the next step in life.
absolutely. And it's usually the little hinges that swing the big doors. When you start
Right.
having all those little, you know, little proofs, like you're saying, they
Right.
actually give you the wind beneath your wings in order for you to keep going. But so many people also have other people believing in them, which then
Mm,
propels them to go even
right.
further. But in your instance, like you have mentioned, obviously there was a societal expectation for you to take over the family
Right.
business. And I guess it wasn't Chinesey, you know, it wasn't easy for
Right.
you to then go to your parents and then say, hey, I'm no longer taking over what you guys have been building. This is going to be my path now. What was the conversation like? Just let us know what
Yeah,
you had to go against, because if they didn't believe in you, that would have been harder for you to then believe in
right.
yourself. As I
Exactly.
mentioned.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because I was the one who volunteered to help out in the store because that's kind of how I was primed. Um, but at the same time, when I had to be honest with myself as well, like if there is another way to make a living, right? And along the way, that's when I started to pick up success on this path. And the first time I brought it up, it wasn't received well, I would say, in the sense that it's my fault as well because I was the one who volunteered to work in the store. So kind of the expectations has been set. Also, subconsciously, perhaps they have a retirement plan in place, right? And it took a few years. It took a few years. What I would say is like when I was working in the store, I was fully engaged. I did not compromise. So I guess the main thing, I guess that flipped them for them was proof over the years. And also I was at that stage, I was having some physical manifestations of like burnout. Um, um Me getting agitated. I would have some allergies come up when I'm stressed. Apparently, I manifest them in my tummy, like some digestion, right? And I would have red spots. And it came to a point where I think I had to, I guess, for my dad to be very understanding as well, to realize that, hey, it might be when I brought it up, that's when I brought it up the second time, I remember the exact date. That was how meaningful it is. When I went full time, it was September 16, 2017. And that's um, when I did this full time and I kind of had the green light. Um, I wouldn't say that this is the right way to do it. I did it the most efficient way. It was just my path on how I ended up doing it. So, um, so yeah, it was tough. And what I would say is, even if I'm doing my own thing, I still have that thinking that I still have to take care. I'll be involved in how the business will move on. So that's
Mm.
actually one of my priorities this year, to kind of work on estate, family corporation, to explore on those things. So when they do want to retire, like we will be able to transition properly. And that's why, like, I have a big ass calendar behind me. It's because it it's why I created the business in the same way. And believe we share the same principle that the business should support life, not the other way around. It's
Mm.
why in my calendar, I've highlighted important birthdays, things that are the business will work around on. And one of the things I want to do is at least one day a week, one work day a week, I'll work on this family projects, right?
Mm.
So even if I have moved on business wise, there's still that as an eldest son mentality to I still have that responsibility,
I mean,
right?
obviously,
So
yeah,
yeah,
because now you're in a position where, in your pastime or whatever it is, you can expand. It's no longer an obligation, because back in the
right.
time that would have been the first protocol, and without any other, recourse, then that wouldn't have been fun. Now you're just doing it because now it's actually much more fun because you're not obligated to be doing it. And I respect that you've obviously made a full turn back moment where you're actually helping your parents now, to transition into retirement. And that would be a really good case study right there, even for the work that
Right.
you are doing. And as you said, work is meant to support you, not the other way around. And I don't know about you, I'm working right now. This is work, and it's supposed to be
Yeah.
fun and enjoyable and meeting cool people like yourself. So thank you so much. Now let's go back to that hospital moment, because that is also a
Sure.
very pivotal part of your journey. You're there working on a launch, and then your wife is maybe not feeling the best. And those are
Right.
the times where we really feel called upon to support and take care of our loved ones. What was going
Mm,
on through your mind emotionally? Because you were busy trying to get things to work, and yet
right.
you've got a very serious and situation that required your attention.
Yeah. What's funny is that was the first time in her life that she was confined in the hospital. Like she was late 20s already. So she's a bit scared. Just having like the IV injected was a big deal for her because it was the first time. Everything was the first time. So I was there to help her. But at the same time, it wasn't my first time in the hospital. So I understood that there would be downtimes since it's just the two of us. Nobody was really going to replace me to take care of her. So I knew I was there all in. So I had my sister bring in my laptop and just work on it while she's resting. Right. And one thing that um, I realized down now that I've been here over 10 plus years is um I accept that not all parts, like I love speaking with you. This part of the business I love, but I realize that there are also other parts of the business that are kind of more boring or something just necessary to do. And I came to accept that, hey, this business, I treat it as a job in the sense that sometimes like in our space, work um the word job can be demonized in some ways, like that's kind of our enemy, but I do treat, just like you, I do treat this as my job and I enjoy it, but I also put in a sense of professionalism with it, right? So I'm super happy that you're actually in Australia because our time zones match. But a lot of my podcasts are at 1 a.m., 11 p.m., right? 5 a.m. But I show up because it's part of my job, right?
Mm.
It's what I do. And there's that sense of discipline that we must inject in our business. Um, and that, for example, I'm one of my lifelong dreams is to do a martial arts. And at 41, I just enrolled in jujitsu like last month, right? And part of it is like discipline of drilling the same thing over and over, being humbled by the mat where you'll be flipped over by somebody's like half your size. and and that's just the job. Just you keep doing the same thing and you start to get better at it. And that's also showing respect to partners, right? To show up on time, to answer questions, to to show up with your best self, even if maybe it's not your most convenient time, right? So, and I think approaching the business with that sort of, and basically that's how I approach it when she was in the hospital as well. Like I am committed to do this, and that is the discipline that I need to show. Of course, she's gonna be number one priority. If she needs me 24/7, I'll definitely prioritize her and push this back, right? And as a dad as well, I want to show that that's also another reason why I got into jujitsu because my daughter is into swimming and discipline is important for her. Like apparently swimming, you can't have days off because like it's a daily training. I want to show her that even for me, I'm 30 years older than her, that I'm also subjecting myself to training, to discipline, right? Because I want to embed that in her that, hey, there's a certain level. It's okay to call this a job or to add to, more importantly, the elements of a job, professionalism, discipline that will serve her for the rest of her life. And that's kind of the thinking that I implemented when she was there in the hospital.
Absolutely. You know what I like about that? I mean, obviously, you did say there are parts of what we do. It's not always fun and
Of
games.
course, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in order for us to then be able to spend this amount of time. You're right, because we've created products or systems that
Right.
allow us to not be completely plugged into the business 24/7. And that's what I love about what it is that you are doing. And one other thing that you also mentioned there, obviously, is in life, we're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. Okay. You've obviously had the life experience, whatever it is that you have done, and you've learned how to get past that. Now it's your turn to contribute, and you're helping others be, do, and have all of that which they want
Right.
and more. But the funniest thing about what you said there was you're now practicing jujitsu, right? And knowing what your brother said about you, your prisoner of gravity, that literally just lands, you'll be stuck on that
Right.
carpet.
Right.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but that's right. Since I can't jump, I'll probably double down on the ground,
You don't
right?
have a
Right.
vertical, right?
Oh my, you're really good at that. I didn't even think of it that way.
Absolutely. Now, you've said, when we start these online businesses, especially 2017, that's when the .com had sort of just subsided, and
Right.
there was a lot, like you said, there was scams that were prevalent in the online space, and people didn't quite know what to expect, and so many people would have thought it might just be a fad that you can send an email and somebody sends you money and things of that nature. Now, how did you stay committed for this for 7 years while working full time? And now you're almost about to celebrate your 10th anniversary in the
Right.
game, since, like you
Nice.
said, the 16th of September 2017 is when you officially got started.
Right. Um, I don't really have a good answer for that. So when I was doing it on the side, I just have like 1 to 2 good hours in the day. So it's really just to get things done. But I didn't have that time to step back and like think of the big picture. Like for now, I wasn't even sure if I'm going to do this in the long run. So back then, when I was doing it as a side hustle, it was just get things done, get things done. Um, I wasn't even, so it was kind of my first time to dabble into technology. So I've always been in traditional business, traditional corporate. So I was oblivious to how fast things can go. And back then, I don't think the speed was as fast as it is now, in the sense that like AI kind of accelerates everything. Yes, it was moving fairly quickly, but I guess the same way that I chose accountancy doesn't really change much, unlike marketing, advertising. So it's pretty much any big changes covers perhaps decades. And I felt like I chose, that's also what gravitated me towards email marketing, where unlike social media, where algorithms change, or media buying, where things change fairly quickly, with email, it's like the equivalent of accountancy in business. So it's
Mm.
fairly stable. Like it does change from time to time, but it takes a longer cycle, right? So it's not an algorithm change that would happen in a couple of weeks. It would take long processes. So that kind of fits with what I do. And I guess the bigger shift right now for me would be um, in the education space, where courses doesn't seem to hit to land as well now. And there's the use of AI and tools to kind of shorten the the learning to implementation process. So yeah, I think ultimately being here almost 10 years full time, um, I heard this one great advice. Funny enough, it's not from our space, but a video game store. He resells video games. Like, more than like the skill of planning or projecting, he likes to focus on the ability to adapt, right? Because it's, especially now with things changing quickly, it's hard to really plan too long, right? Because a new technology can really disrupt everyone's plans, right? So, I think that power of adaptability, that skill wise, and identity in terms of humility, right? Being able to, for example, there are courses where I would enroll in my previous students' programs because they specialize in a different field that I don't know anything about, right? So, um, I think those two things are things that are permanent,
Mm,
right? And I would lean on those values. And ultimately, it will end up with who you are and what you value because things change, everything change, right? But if you lean back on those values, okay, if this is my code, right? How would my next decision align with these codes, right?
mm,
So, and ultimately, one thing that I realize is also detaching emotions with numbers, results with your emotions. So what I mean by that is if numbers are dropping, it's not because of you, but because of maybe the offer isn't good enough, the copy isn't good enough. Because I see that, and I've experienced that myself when I was starting out, that I would take results personally. It's like, um, there came to a point where even for my circle, where there was a thing called not formally, but like audience resentment, where you give so much to your list, then when it comes time to launch crickets, right? There's like so poor reception, and there's that resentment that comes from that. To
mm,
realize like it's not that they don't like you. In fact, a lot of them might love you, but maybe what you put out there is not what they need. And having that humility to, hey, to go out, take the L, and go out and ask, like, what are you looking for? Ask, get on a survey, talk to people, you know, um, in my training as well with online, went head first with copywriting. And sometimes there can be with copywriting, it can inflate your ego in the sense that, hey, my writing turned into money. But in reality, yes, techniques are important, frameworks are important, but it's really how much you understand the other person, right? So it's not just you're good with words, because if you're amazing with words, but your offer is awful, you can create a cash grab. But ultimately, what I value is lifetime value. Um, Lifetime value, not in the sense that I want to squeeze every penny out of a person, but lifetime value challenges me to be better because people will only buy from you again, if they're happy with what they bought, right? With their
mm.
experience. And the challenge comes from making sure that they're happy with that first thing that they buy and the next thing that they buy and the next thing that they buy. And that's where the a one person business can survive, right? Because maybe it's not, I work with a lot of folks who, this is not the right term for it, but this might be the thinking, who are not as ambitious. Meaning they don't necessarily want to have like 7, 8 figure business. They just want a business that is simple, right? A simple, but they can make a full-time living out of it. And maybe working with not thousands of people, maybe a few dozen or a few low hundreds. And that's why it's important to have lifetime value, right? So that you don't have to have a lot of customers. Those customers you have, they can take you up on more work with you, one-on-one work, higher ticket offers, right? Because they're happy with what you give. And that's the mindset, not really volume, right? But making sure treat everyone like a human, right? Because systems for 7, 8 figure businesses are different. It requires a different setup, a different model. And a lot of folks, I know that some of them I work with are coming from that model and want to simplify their lives, and so yeah, that's kind of, I know I might have went on a tangent
I like
with
that. I
this.
like that a lot. It's so good because there's so much to unpack from that. And what I really like about that is the use of words and what words would mean to define certain things. Because if you're just calling it a side gig or a side hustle, you just go in and just create for that particular moment and not necessarily worry about the longevity of you being in business. Whereas if
Right.
you're literally taking this as your way of being and being a solopreneur, you're literally going to be creating for and relating to the customers that you're creating so that they keep buying from you again and again and again and again. Just like creating a lifetime customer. I'll give you an example. Just in December, we went on a Disney cruise with the kids. All right. So, in essence, I grew up watching Disney. So that means I was already sold on the characters and
Mm.
everything else as a kid. And now they've got newer characters that I didn't even know were Disney, and my kids already knew about them. So they've already gone a whole generation. They still have merchandise that I can buy and I love, and I'm already an older person now. I'm also engaged with it based on the new characters of what my kids are loving, and it's just a whole continuous cycle like that. And I think that really creates what you're talking about, creating a world that people want to step in and live in and never want to go anywhere else because you've created stuff that they absolutely love. But there's a big danger from what I'm gathering, calling this a side gig or like a side hustle. Why is that language so powerful or maybe so limiting for a lot of people?
Yeah. Yeah. I was asked this question, like, what would your advice be to your like 20-year-old self? And I love that you touch on that point because the number one advice I tell like 20-year-old Alan, 25-year-old Alan is, um, don't call what you do, don't call yourself like what you do a side gig or a side hustle. Because as a dad, I realized that, hey, sometimes I would see my daughter an hour a day. Maybe she's busy with swim class, I'm busy with work. I just say hello before she sleeps. But that doesn't make me a part-time dad. The identity is not tied to the hours. However, I did that when I started. So when I started my side gig or side income, my intention was to make it my full-time thing. But by calling it even subconsciously as a side income or side gig, I'm not accountable. So subconsciously, my limit is also partial, not full time. So whenever there's delays in my output, I would say, I have a full time thing. This is just my side project, right? It can wait. Whenever I put out a lead magnet, which is like 3 weeks too late, I pat myself on the back because I was able to do this even if I have full time work. It's like the excuse is always baked in, right?
Mm.
But the thing that I should have done was I was a full time employee in our family business, but I'm also a full time entrepreneur. Because if you're full time, you find ways to get it done, right? That identity is like, I'm accountable for these results. And I'm accountable to give in full effort, right? Find ways, even if it's not my time, hire somebody to do it, right? Or maybe scale the project in a way that's reasonable and not just train myself to be okay with mediocrity, right?
Mm.
And a lot of it is under the hood, like it's subconscious. Things like that are subconscious. And I think I could have increased the speed of my success if I had that mindset. And not just there, but also in other parts of my life where full accountability is required and it's not necessarily based on time. Because we're
Mm.
always going to be only have 24 hours, right? But but we have different roles that are full-time roles, right?
Mm.
And that's something that I didn't realize early on.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I mean, obviously, you did mention that some of the people are not fully engaged or they're not really serious or committed, is the word that I was looking for there. And you've got a statement which I would love to hear you explain: chop wood and carry water. What
Ah,
does this mean in
right.
business? And when have you been able to use this?
Yeah. It's one manifestation of discipline where when it's respecting the process. So if you had a major launch, right? Major launch, you still go to work the next day. Major
Mm.
launch, you rake in a lot of cash. The next day you work, come in the next day, do the same routine. Chop wood, carry water. If you had launch, it bombed, underperformed, you go to your process, chop wood, carry water. Go to work next day, analyze. Right? If it's just focusing on understanding that comes in with professionalism and discipline. I just it's being even killed where you don't let the moment be bigger than who you are. It's
Mm.
respecting that process, that discipline, what got you wherever you are. Because ultimately there will be emotions can be it's beautiful, but it can be dangerous. Right? Having a big win, celebration, but you don't realize that maybe there was just one affiliate partner that drove in a lot of the sales. Then they won't participate in the next launch, then it bombs. Then you over blame yourself that, hey, what did we do wrong? It was just because perhaps you were carried away. Maybe something bombed, then you didn't realize that it was a tech issue, but your offer was beautiful. Then you change all your entire offer. It's understanding that, hey, we're here, we're an engine, we're a motor that keeps on going. And what I love about that is it's driven for longevity. Driven for longevity. You don't allow the peaks and valleys to define who you are. You appreciate them, you understand them, but you understand that it's the routine. Just like if we want to have any reach any physical goals, right? Like even if you go hard in the gym one day, like if you're fat, I grew up really a big kid, a chunky kid because I had asthma. I can't be like if I go hard in the gym one day, the next day I wake up, I'm still a fat kid. So but in order for me to see real change, you just have to chop wood, carry water. I don't have to exhaust myself in day one. It's just I have to keep doing it consistently.
Mm.
That's the same with relationships, right? I believe like for me, I don't do grand gestures in my relationship with my wife, but what we do is we do a weekly breakfast.
Oh wow.
And those are it's those small things. It's those small things. When she has a bad day, I would ask her, would you love some milk tea? Right? It's just those small things that understanding that, okay, and keeping them regular. That's why a calendar is a big thing for me
Mm.
because I don't want my emotions to dictate my life. No, I want routine so that it builds on top of one another. Right. So even in my journal, like I have a um, workout with my wife, bonding with my daughter and my wife, bonding with my family. And I would track it in the journal, like how many times did I did that in a week or in a month, right? And if there's anything that's I feel off in my life, and I would look at that, okay, I felt like I didn't take care of my finances well, or I didn't do much this month with my daughter, right? And I think having that daily reminder for me, it might be a little extreme, but for me, it's like if we set it in routines, even for my wife, her parents have passed, and she has three sisters, right, that she's close with, and typically it's the parents who would invite everyone for a gathering. So now that they're gone, I was telling her, hey, if you want to meet with your sisters, just schedule it like every first Saturday of the month. Don't even think about it. Whoever can come, just come. Just don't reschedule it if somebody can't come because it's that routine. Even just a family gathering, chop wood, carry water, because every meetup is a memory, right? And there's this wonderful book called Die with Zero, where he has this concept called like memory dividends, right? It's about finance as well. But like, for example, if you're saving all our money till the end, like at the end, what we look back if we're frail and old is like our memories, right? And we would think of, hey, I wish I created more memories, right? So for me, it's why I also push me to do jujitsu right now because I'm only gonna get older. So I might as well do it now.
Yeah.
And having those weekly dates, those weekly meetups, those are memories that add on. And the earlier you do it, the longer you can cherish them.
Absolutely. And it all compounds, because from one thing,
Exactly.
even us being on a call like this is going to be fading in a distant memory. And we are all going to be thinking about the day we spoke about cutting wood and, taking water. But what I really like about all that you're saying is so much of this is very practical advice. You know what I mean? So many people can literally start, scale, and grow a business of their own, and then start utilizing their own intellectual, knowledge or property to create those products that can help them get paid online and that can be from your service. But somebody might be watching this, Alan, and saying, yeah, but I'm not an accountant. Yeah, but I didn't grow up in a wholesale environment where my parents would have been teaching me all about business and things like that. I might not be cut out for that and things of that nature. Do you have any other examples of people that would have maybe worked with you, or people that you can share with us that have experienced the work that you're doing, that are now literally doing more and maybe have changed your view on what success really is in life?
Right. Yeah, I do. And what's funny is when you mentioned about when I was talking about accountancy and the business, I never really thought of them as advantages. Um, so I had this one client. His name is Billy. Um, he's in IT. So he's in IT. So he's far from sales, similar to accountancy, where like you do a lot of your own work individually. Um, so he had this. I helped him with his product. His idea was he passed this certain certification in IT, where it allows him to get better pay. But all the certifications, in order to pass that certification, books are expensive and they're all in technical English, right? So there are a lot of folks who wants to pass that certification, but have a hard time budget wise and with the language. So he created an education guide in Filipino, in Tagalog, right?
Mm.
Sold it for like $10, so 500 pesos locally. And people bought it and they would have his guide, his ebook printed. I would imagine like the printing was more expensive than the ebook itself. And they would take photos, send it to him. And he was able to help a lot of folks pass that certification. Later on from that book, he created an online course from it. Then
Mm.
what's beautiful about Billy is that a lot of the people here, like 10% of our population is actually working overseas. And his wife is one of them. So his wife is working in Malaysia. But so they have a kid as well. So the kid is living with him. So because of the success of his education business, he was able to bring home his wife. So these are artificially broken families. They're together, but they're physically apart for economic reasons. He was
Mm.
able to bring her back. So he was able to bring his family together and ultimately buy their dream home just outside of the city, right? And this is from somebody who has no specific advantages, no educational background, just a desire to learn, right? A desire to learn and more importantly, to try things out and even fail, right? And that's why even in my journey, I said that it wasn't really an advantage for me having that accountancy degree or having that business background. Perhaps it helps me with in terms of grit. But what really helped me was um, trying something out and understanding that I can fail from this and that's okay. Because those experiences created those sliding doors moment, right? So I now have something to compare against. Because when I tried this out, I remember my sister was worried for me when I resigned from my banking work.
Mm.
And I was telling her, hey, I'm allocating. I'm pretty good with saving money. So I told her like I'm allocating like $1,000 for this online business, whatever it is, courses, domain. Then I'll just see how it works. Right? It's just an investment in myself. And it was years down the road, and she was telling me, I was really worried for you when you were telling me that. Right? But it was just I guess for me, a manifestation of just chop wood, carry water because I just don't want to sit down and whine. I would rather do something about it. Now, sometimes as a husband, that's not good. Sometimes you just have to listen, don't have to fix things. But for for my own thing, it's just um, I don't want to be a victim.
Mm.
Ultimately, I don't want to be a victim. I would try something. I'd rather fail at something at a small scale. It doesn't have to be grand. At a small scale. I would say when I tested out, the $1,000 would have been what was pretty generous. I could have tested things out for $100, even less than $100. Right now, right now, I help folks with validating their product ideas. And the promise there is you don't have to spend anything. Right. So you don't even have to do the $1,000 that I did before. It's just an idea, a Google Doc, some DMs, and a deadline.
Mm.
So that's kind of last year when we did that, that's where we got the most success because it got people to just test things out and one task a day. By the end of it, whether it's either you have an idea that people paid for or you need to pivot, but you're still the same person, right? You're not you're not worse off.
Absolutely. Now, you see, what I find very powerful about what you did is you just didn't build an income. Not only are you helping yourself, first of all, you helped your wife. Now you're helping all these other people as well. And it's just a ripple effect of all of that
Mm,
work that you're doing. And of all this, I also still see the humbleness in what you have created, right? Because you've built gratitude into the work that you're doing. You are very grateful that you came across this particular, modality, and now it's helping you be, do, and have whatever it is that you've always wanted. And I like how you say you now work off of a calendar and everything emanates from that because you no longer have a to-do list. You literally have a
mm,
get-to-do list, and
right.
you've also passed that on to your family and things of that nature. And for that, I really appreciate the journey that you've taken, and all the work that you're doing for other people out there. And for those that are watching right now, if you want a business that actually gives you more time, more impact, and less stress, I think this is exactly the kind of guide that you want. Alan, tell us a little bit about your 7-day pre-sale challenge.
Yeah, so thank you. So what we help you guys with that is if you have an idea, we even created a GPT where, hey, just tell me what you do, how you help people, and we'll come up with product ideas for you. Then we can get that product idea, then I'll help you validate it. So we'll create a Google Doc, kind of like your sales page, but less intimidating. Writing a sales page, I don't know about you, Prosper, but writing a sales page intimidates me. Like it feels like, do I need to be a world-class copywriter to do this? So we just write a simple Google Doc explaining what you do and just reach out to folks, right? And we have special messaging that's not intimidating for folks to use. And yeah, by the end of like a deadline, we'll see how many people said yes, how many people said no, and we'll build a business off of that. And we do it fast, like 7 days. A lot of people do it in so much less time. And every day we'll give you a GPT. Some folks, I don't recommend this. Some folks skip the education part and just use the GPT. It can work, but because it takes them 5 minutes to get the output, right? And yeah, the what I love about this is they see themselves in a different light because a lot of folks who work with us have that idea planted, gathering dust in their minds. And this is the chance for them to, hey, let's see if it really has legs. And what we do is like chop wood, carry water. Just do this task one day, one day, one day, one day, and see if it works. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a world-class copywriter. You don't have to have a big audience. We'll start off with folks that you know and see if the idea is, I want you to collect money before you build a thing, right? I want
Mm.
you, because that's how I did my first product. Um, I remember I learned of this from the founder of lead pages back then. He had this program before, and it was really the idea of me being a conservative person as well with money. I just don't want to build something and pray that people will buy it. Right. So I like the safer conservative approach where I pitch the idea, pre-sell the idea, right? Then once I see, okay, there's legs here, then that's when I invest time to build the thing. And Yeah. So yeah, that's what we do with the pre-sale challenge.
Absolutely. And for those that are keen on knowing about this, where can they go on the internet to start their 7 day challenge?
That's wonderful. So they can visit digitalsolopreneur.com /7 day, the number seven, and the word day, DAY. So yeah, so that would drive them to to join the challenge.
Absolutely. I will definitely put that challenge link in the show notes below so that people can actually start chopping wood and carrying water. So, now, Alan, this has been fantastic. And I think your life story and your experience have got so much value for those that are looking to start online businesses and really get paid. And I also like how you've created the 7 day challenge that people can actually test their idea first on live audiences before they actually go out and create that. But what's next? What are you working on right now that you've brought us into your world that we can be excited about and follow you for?
Oh, it's a great question. So for me, everything. So I have a community called the Effortless Earners. Right. So that's where we build. So with the 7 day challenge, we start. That's the seed where you can build your first offer. Then we can build a full back end, the full business out from that first product. And that's where I help my community with the Effortless Earners. And that for me, that identity for me is something that's my North Star. Um, we have a specific code with effortless earners. One of them is treating people like humans, not numbers, right? Lifetime value over volume. So those are the things that we focus on. And what we're working on now with effortless earners is we're experimenting right now with paid traffic, paid acquisition of customers, because what I realize is as an effortless earners, we want to, my saying is that empty spaces in your calendars are appointments too, right? Because we tend to fill those up if they're vacant. So in order to have more vacant slots, we need to automate other things. One of them is customer acquisition. And right now we're creating more GPTs and helping our students create GPTs that they can sell. So that's kind of one of the big evolution from last year to this year, the speed of implementation. So we're adapting more ways, we're embracing technology in order to create quality results for our students, but also minimizing the time required from us. So plenty of moving parts there. We're always adapting. Like being adaptable and being humility are big values of ours. So whatever I learn, I take the mistakes. Like I'm running ads right now. If so they could save on my mistakes and double down on what I learned. So effortless earners is one of the community on the back end that we're super proud of.
Absolutely. Now, Alan, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today. I mean, I think both you and I today have really, really, refuted the statement that your brother called you a prisoner of gravity. I don't think you are, because you're untouchable. You're a high earner, high learner, and also you have very high spirit. And I don't think gravity has anything on you right there. So thank you so much for the journey that you have taken and for spending your time with us today on the Online Prosperity Show.
Thank you for being a wonderful host and being an amazing listener. I think you're one of the best listeners I've spoken with, and you have the humor and wit to match. So thank you. It's been an honor to speak with you and to be on your show.
Fantastic. Now, for those that are watching right now, what I really love about Alan's story is this. He didn't escape work. He just escaped the belief that work must trap you. So I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing with this information. I will be putting all the information that he spoke about in the show notes below so that you two can jump on and start the 7 day pre-sale challenge. Now, if this is your first time on the Online Prosperity Show, make sure you are subscribed, because you don't want to miss out on these types of conversations that we have, because the next episode, I've just been told, We're going to be diving into ideas that help you design a happier, calmer, and more aligned life, not just a profitable one. So I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this information today. And if I can leave you with one thing, all right, if your business just exists to serve your life, make sure it doesn't control it in the end. I can't wait to see how you're going to interpret this. Bye for now.